Are you tired of dealing with the problems with that small stop-start battery in the Wrangler or the Gladiator? Or maybe you just want an easier way to change the batteries than having to pull out the fuse box? Then I've got a couple of options. Hi, I'm Shane Smith, the owner of Genesis Off-Road. In this video, I'll show you how to install two different kits to deal with the problems with the stock batteries. I'll talk a little bit about each option and give you some pointers along the way, but I'm going to assume that you're already familiar with both of these options here. If you want to learn a little bit more about these kits and which one is right for you, then watch our overview video here. I'll cover how to install both of these kits in the video since the process is so similar, and hopefully this will give you some extra info if you're still trying to decide which way to go. Before we jump into it, let me show you what comes with each kit, and we'll also talk about the batteries you'll need for each one. Both of these options are going to come with our new steel battery tray that replaces the stock plastic battery tray. Now, this is the same tray that we've been making since 2018 for our full dual battery system. So at some point down the road, if you decide you want all the benefits of our dual battery system, you're already halfway there. So over here, we have our stock battery relocation kit. This is going to use the two stock batteries and just makes it easier to access that small ESS battery. It'll come with this top lid to hold the big Group 94R battery in the same position it was in originally. And you'll get this new bracket that'll hold the small ESS battery, which is an aux 14 size. And that battery gets held down with this strap across the top. And you'll get all the hardware you need. The second option replaces the two stock batteries with two Group 25 size batteries. That kit comes with this top lid to hold the batteries down. It has the same bus bars that we use on our full dual battery system, and that allows us to connect the stock wires that came off the little battery right here on the bus bars. Then our new wires reach over to this side of the tray to connect to the battery posts. And of course, you'll get all the hardware you need. Now let's talk about the batteries for a minute. For our stock battery relocation kit, you'll need a Group 94R. That's the size for the big battery, and the aux 14 for the little one. Now, keep in mind that your Jeep may have come with either this 94R or a smaller Group 48 size battery. Both of those were installed at the factory depending on the options on the vehicle. The 94R is a little bit bigger, which means it has more capacity and more cold cranking amps than the Group 48, but they're usually the same price regardless of the brand, so you might as well get the larger 94R. Now, if you just dropped your Jeep off at the dealership and they're replacing the batteries for you under warranty, or even if you're having to pay for them, be sure to ask them to put in the Group 94R and not the Group 48. Now, the little ESS battery is the aux 14 size. You can find these at just about any local auto parts store. There is a tiny little bit of variation in the dimensions on this battery across all the different brands. So we made this bracket to fit the largest size so you can use any brand that you can find. Now, if you want a better quality battery than the El Cheapo Auto Parts Store house brand, we sell the aux 14 from Odyssey. We also carry both Odyssey and Full Throttle for the 94R. As of today, Full Throttle doesn't have an aux 14, but hopefully they will in the future. For the stock battery replacement kit, you'll need a couple of Group 25 size batteries. That's the biggest size battery that we can fit in here between the engine and the fender. And that's the size you'll need if you decide you want to upgrade to the full dual battery system in the future. Now, some people have asked us if they can use a Group 35 with our kit. The Group 35 is the exact same dimensions as the 25. It just has the positive and negative post reversed, which means your positive post will be over by the fender and your stock positive wire doesn't have any slack on it at all. So it's not going to reach all the way over to the fender. So that's why we have to use the Group 25. We also get asked a lot if the Optima batteries will work with our kit. Optima makes their red top cranking battery in a Group 25, but their deep cycle yellow top is a Group 75/25. Which has an extra set of posts on the side. Now, Optimas run a little bit smaller than the industry standard. They're usually shorter than other brands, so our top lid wouldn't be able to hold it securely in place. They also have some little round vent ports on the top, which would interfere with our lid as well. Besides that, the yellow top 75/25 also has a good bit less capacity than other brands, and that's due to its spiral design. There's just less lead inside it. So for those reasons, we don't recommend using Optima batteries in our kits. We sell the Odyssey and the Full Throttle brand on our website, and we stock both of these Group 25s in our office for fast shipping so you can get everything you need dropped off at your doorstep. Okay, let's get into the installation. Like I said, both of these options will replace the stock plastic battery tray with our new steel tray. The process to remove that stock tray is exactly the same as you might have already seen in our installation video for the full dual battery kit. So for the sake of consistency, we're going to pull in that clip from the other video into this one to show you how to remove the old tray. Now, once you got the new tray in there, we'll cut and come back here to continue with the rest of the installation. So what we're going to be doing today is pulling the stock battery tray out of here. And it looks like there's a lot going on, but it's actually very simple. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So we're going to start on one end and we're going to remove the fuse box, the battery, and the air box. That's going to open up all this space so we can get that stock tray out. So we're going to get started by disconnecting our battery and pulling the battery out. Okay, let's start with loosening the negative post clamp with a 10mm socket. We'll set that clamp aside. Then we'll loosen the positive clamp right here with a 10mm. And we'll just put this clamp back here out of the way. Pull this sleeve off of here. Okay, we'll use an extension with a 10mm to pull the battery bracket out right down here. And then we'll lift the battery out. Now, most of you know the JL has two batteries. There's a second smaller battery down below your fuse box. So just be careful with your factory post clamps because those are still hot because they're connected to that other battery down there. Okay, let's go ahead and get this air box out of the way. We're going to pop this cover loose with an 8mm socket and pull the top cover off. And there's also a hose clamp right here. We're going to loosen that so it's easier to get this cover off. Okay, we'll pull this cover off of here. And the 10mm bolt on the fender. Now this air box is just going to wiggle out, so we'll just pry it out of here. Now we'll move the power steering fluid bottle out of the way by removing this single 10mm bolt. And we're just going to set this over here out of the way. Okay, now let me show you how to remove the fuse box. Take this cover off, then we're going to take a 7mm socket. There's 4 7mm bolts in here. Now, you may know on the older Jeep JKs, there was only one wire that fed power into the whole fuse box. On the newer Jeeps, the JL and the Gladiator, now there's 6 or 7 or 8 different wires that come into the fuse box, depending on what options you have on your vehicle. So you may see a different number of wires connected to the fuse box here, and that's normal. But those stampings are very small, and then my eyes are too old to see those. So I'm going to use a little Sharpie and label each one of these at the position that they go from 1 through 7. Now we'll remove each one of these wires coming in the fuse box with a 10mm. Okay, now to get this fuse box out of here, we're going to use a small pry tool. There's 4 little clips that clip the top of the fuse box down to the lower base. So I find it easiest to start with the back corner over here, pry that out and lift a little bit, and then pry the front ones up, like that. And the fuse box will lift up. And then on the bottom of the fuse box, there's 4 large connectors that have all the wires that go into the fuse box. So you'll just grab each one of these and kind of wiggle those loose, and those should pop off. So the fuse box base is held in place by 2 10mm nuts here and here, and also 1 Phillips head screw closer to the firewall. Okay, now the fuse box base can come out. We'll just move these wires out of our way and get this piece out of here. So the next thing we're going to do is pop this cover off to give us access to the small accessory battery that's down below here. And we're just going to kind of groom all these cables out of our way so that we can get this big plastic battery tray out of here. Okay, I'm going to use some zip ties to kind of hold all these large connectors up out of our way. Okay, now we need to start popping some of these little wire retaining clips out of here. We're using a little panel removal tool. I've just got a little pry tool. So we'll pop those out of there. Okay, now this wire bundle here, They use this little plastic channel to help protect this wire while it's going across here. We really don't need this piece, so I'm going to use a small screwdriver and pry this, pop this little plastic case open and remove that. There we go. So we won't need this. Now let's pop the little plastic clips that's holding the post clamps along the top rail of the battery tray. And we'll set these clamps out of our way. Okay, now we need to move these ground wires that's over here inside the fender. Your Jeep, your vehicle may have a different number of wires here on the fender based on your options and based on your year model. So if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, that's okay. So I've got one that goes over here to the negative post clamp. That's to ground the body to the battery. And then I've got another one that comes over and goes into the positive harness, goes down below the engine, and I believe that one goes to the engine block ground. And then this one that runs along the inside of the fender here, this one goes down and grounds to the frame. So we're gonna remove these two right here with a 10mm and a 13mm. I'm gonna put this nut back in place so I don't lose it. Now, I know we've got a lot of wires kind of spread out around here, so what I like to do is use a label maker and label the wires where they go. So you can see on here, I've already got a couple of white labels. If you don't have a label maker, just use a piece of tape and a Sharpie. That's gonna help you out later because I know you got a lot of wires in here. So we're just gonna take these two ground wires and move them out of our way. Okay, now we're gonna pop the cover off of the small accessory battery using our 10mm socket again. There's 4 bolts holding this cover down. Now we can pull this cover out of here. Okay, so now you can see the small auxiliary start-stop battery. This battery is used for the engine start-stop system. When you pull up to the red light and you stop, the engine shuts down. All of the electronics, the radio and the fans and everything, run off of the small battery. And then when you lift your foot off the brake and the engine starts, it cranks off the large battery. So we're gonna replace this small battery with a second full-size battery in our kit. So we're gonna pull this out and it will not be reused. Now, not all JLs have this small auxiliary start-stop battery under here. It changed whether you have that or not based on some of the engine options, the e-torque system, what year model you had it. Some years it was available, some years it wasn't. But if you don't have it in here, just skip this part of the video. Okay, let's pull this cover back and we'll pull the ground off of here with a 10mm. Okay, there's our ground. And there's our positive harness. Now we can pull the small battery out. Now we're ready to pull the bolts that hold the tray down in here with a 10mm socket. We'll start at the firewall. There's 4 on the firewall. And then there's several down in the battery tray. There's a couple more on the tray inside the fender. And then the last 2 on this little bracket up top on the fender. Okay, now we're ready to pull this big bulky plastic tray out of here, but I'm gonna kind of groom these wires back out of our way a little bit to make this a little bit easier. We'll just set all this over here out of our way as much as possible. And now we should be able to lift this tray up and out of here. Okay, now with that big ugly thing out of the way, now we can get our new tray down in here. So we'll take our new tray. This side's gonna go against the firewall. We'll just slide this right in here onto those studs on the firewall right back here. The front of the tray is gonna go in front of this tab and we'll bolt it down. All right, we're gonna reuse our factory hardware that came off the firewall to hold that tray in place. We'll get that started right here. Then let's go ahead and start our other hardware at the front. We'll go ahead and tighten everything down. Okay, now the tray is in here. Next thing, we're gonna start working on putting the fuse box back in. To do that, we need to get one little piece of hardware off of the plastic cover piece, but we're gonna remove this little clip off this plastic piece here. Just pinch that on the back side, and this little piece is gonna pop out. Then we're gonna take this piece and we're gonna pop it into the little rectangle hole on our battery tray. Okay, now we're gonna grab our fuse box base and we're gonna put this back in. You notice there's a couple of holes here, and this is where the Phillips goes. So we're gonna put this right on top of that hardware on our tray. Slide this in place like that. Okay, now let's reuse our factory hardware to hold that base down to our tray. And the screw goes closest to the firewall. All right, now we're gonna snap these large connectors back down into the fuse box base. Let's get our zip tie out of the way. The one on the fender is gonna go lay across this way. And these connectors are gonna snap into that base, like that. This one goes closest to the engine. Okay, now we're ready to set the fuse box back in here. Lay it right on top. And these will just snap in place. So now let's start grooming these cables that go into the fuse box back into place. We've got a bunch of cables moved over here out of our way. So we're gonna pull all this stuff back out so we can get to it. We'll start grooming these cables where they go. Let's bring our ground wires back over here. Get these back in place. Here's our ground from the small battery. We're just gonna tuck that down here, down low underneath our fuse box. That can just go right down there. Okay, here's my number 1. Number 2 goes to the positive post clamp. 3. Okay, so on my JL, I don't have anything on position number 4, but then wires 5 and 6 were laid across the fender over here, so we'll bring those back over and groom those in place. And then I got a 7 hiding down here somewhere. Here's number 7. It kind of fell down a little bit. We'll bring that back up top, and there we go. All right, then we'll run these down with a 10mm. Okay, now we're gonna tighten up these 4 7mm bolts inside the fuse box. And then let's get these grounds reconnected over here on the fender. So we'll tighten these down with a 10mm and a 13mm. Now let's make sure all of our wires are just tucked in here against the fuse box, nice and close, so that when we set our battery down in here, we don't pinch any of these wires. All right, now we can pop our cover back on. Okay, we're gonna take our air box and set it down in here. Slide this down in here. I'm gonna secure the air box in here with our 10mm bolt on the fender. Okay, now let's take the air box cover and put that back on here. And we'll secure that with the 8mm again. Okay, now let's secure our power steering fluid bottle onto the little tab on the side of our tray using the factory 10mm bolt. Okay, we're back. Man, I had a lot less gray hair on my chin back then. Anyway, at this point, you should have the tray installed along with the fuse box, your air box, and the power steering bottle back in place. Now, I'll give you one quick tip. We noticed on our original install video that we forgot to mention about the dipstick. So if your dipstick is kind of contacting the edge of the tray, don't worry about it. It's actually very easy to just bend that dipstick towards the engine just a little bit. So you can see here on mine, I can put several fingers between the dipstick and the side of the tray. So just kind of gently bend that towards the engine. Okay, we're gonna start with the stock battery relocation kit first. So let's go ahead and grab our large battery and set it in there. Then we'll grab our top lid and set it in place. And you're gonna notice that the sides of this bracket are bent in by just a couple of degrees. That's so it'll snap onto the side of that battery nice and tight. Now, if your brand of battery is just a little bit bigger, you may need to bend these sides out just 1 degree or so. But we made that to be a real snug fit. We're gonna set that on here and snap it in place. Slide your battery forward. And then we'll go ahead and secure the top lid down. Now, before we put the small battery bracket up here, we're going to remove this stock nut with a 10 millimeter. And we're also going to loosen this one up a little bit. That's going to help us with this plastic wire channel through here. Okay, now grab the bracket for the small battery. We're going to attach it to these studs on the big battery first. And then you may have to push that wire channel back a little bit and then put your nut and washer back in place. Then we'll go ahead and secure the little battery bracket to the big one using a couple of the nylock nuts from the hardware baggie. We go ahead and move the positive wire for the small battery over to this other side. Now go ahead and set your small battery in here with a post to the bottom. Then this little metal strap will hold it down. Put that through the slot. Rotate that down and secure that with the last nylock nut. Now, depending on what brand of battery you got, you may notice that there's a slight gap in between the top strap and the mounting base. We did that on purpose. That's to allow some flexibility with different sizes of batteries. So we're going to tighten this up, but we don't have to squish that thing all the way down to the bottom. Okay, now we're ready to start hooking up the wires. We'll start with the positive wire for the small battery. So I found the easiest way to do this is to flip this lug over so these sides are facing outward and then attach it on there. Now, of course, with that post flipped around, it might be a little bit difficult to get this little insulating cover back into place. We'll just move over here about like this. That should be fine. And now let's do the positive wire for the big battery. So we'll go ahead and get this ground wire laid over here for a second. We'll get the big battery's positive hooked up. Make sure this clamp is all the way down to the bottom of the battery post. Tighten that up. Okay, now let's work on the negative for the little battery. So again, we're not going to be able to flip this factory lug all the way around in its original orientation. So this little insulating cover here may be in the way. You can take this one off if you want to, or just kind of move it out of the way a little bit. Get this in position. Secure that one down. And finally, we'll work on the factory negative on the big battery. Get that clamp attached. And watch out for your wires over here. Make sure those aren't going to rub and chafe on the brackets over here. And tap it all the way down to the bottom. Okay, that's all there is to this one. Last thing we want to do is just check all of your post clamps. Make sure everything is real nice and tight. If you can wiggle any of your post clamps at all, even a little bit, that can cause you some weird issues. So make sure all these are real good. So that's our stock battery relocation kit. So now in the future, if you do have problems with this little auxiliary battery, you can just pull the strap off the top and get that battery out of there a whole lot easier. And then if you need to change out the big battery, you'll just remove the bracket for the small battery off of here, take the lid off, the battery comes right out. Super easy to service both of your batteries now. Okay, now we're going to reset. I'm going to pull all this back out, and we're going to show you how to do the stock battery replacement kit with the 2 Group 25 batteries. Okay, we're all reset now, just like you just got the tray installed. So now we're going to show you the stock battery replacement using the 2 Group 25s. So we'll grab the first one. Set that in here as the big battery. Grab the other battery and sit that down in the front. This will become the new small battery, the new ESS battery. You grab the new lid, it's gonna go on in this orientation with the bus bars closer to the fuse box. So start with the positive wire from the little battery. The way this lug is shaped with these little tabs sticking up like this, we're not gonna be able to flip this around and get that on there with a good contact to our bus bar. So we're gonna have to put this on here upside down, like this. But when we do that, it's gonna be a lot harder to get this little insulating cover over that. So we've included a new little insulating cover for you in the hardware baggie. So we're gonna pull this stock one off, and we're gonna put this new one on here and push this onto our lug. Now, if you have a hard time getting that on there, you could take a knife and just trim this tapered part back a little bit to make that a little bit easier. All right, now we're gonna get this on here. We'll start with our lock washer and our nut. Tighten that down with a 13. There we go. Then we can get our factory positive for the big battery and bring it up top and go ahead and connect that. We can go ahead and tighten this one down with a 10 millimeter. Make sure that clamp is seated all the way to the bottom of the post. That cover on there. Now we can work on our grounds. So again, with the factory negative wire, it's going to have to go upside down about like this as well. So again, with these lugs shaped like this and sticking up, we're really not going to be able to use this negative clamp cover, and I don't think it's really necessary. So I'm just going to take this one off. That on like that in that orientation. Our lock washer and our nut on there. And again, you can either bend these lug sides out to get a socket on there, or just use a wrench to get that tight. Okay, that one's good. I'm gonna go ahead and hook up my factory ground over here on this clamp, and you'll notice that that doesn't really line up very well either, but that's okay because this part of the battery post clamp can be rotated. We're going to grab a 10 millimeter and loosen up this nut on the bottom side of the post clamp. With that loose, you can see you can rotate this several different directions. We'll loosen that up just a little bit more. So rotate that out this way. It'll be a lot easier to get onto that battery post. So once you kind of see where that wire is going to lay, how that post clamp is going to lay out, about like that. Now we'll take it back off and tighten it up in that orientation. Put that on there. That clamp on the post. Again, make sure it's seated all the way to the bottom. And tighten that one back up. Okay, now with all the factory wires attached here, we can route the wires up to the new auxiliary ESS battery. So we'll start with the positive over here. Get that one to the bottom. Tighten that with a 13 millimeter. And then the negative. Okay, that's all there is to it. This one is done. Just make sure all your post clamps are nice and tight, and check all your wiring, especially over here. Make sure everything is routed nice and neatly and no wires are getting pinched or going to get chafed. Now you might notice it may be a little bit tricky getting into your fuse box over here because some of these wires are routed over the top of the fuse box. Don't worry, in the rare case that you do need to access the fuse box, just pull this post clamp off, move that out of the way. It'll be a lot easier to get in there. Now you can use these bus bars for hooking up some accessories if you want to, but just be aware that this is not a full-blown dual battery system, okay? So just use this with caution because you've got no protection against draining the batteries down. You've got no boost switch like on our Gen 3 power hub to be able to jumpstart yourself if you drain these batteries down. So just use this with caution. Okay, so that's it. That's our stock battery replacement kit using 2 Group 25 batteries. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments section. If you have any questions, we're here to help. Just reach out to us through our website or on the phone. And thanks for watching. Hey, I hope that video helped you out. If it was helpful to you, please hit the subscribe button and like this video. That really does help us out. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment in the comment section down below or send us an email. And remember, it all starts with power.